table, makes a bench. Now, this is not a video where you're going to see me cutting and sawing and doing all those mundane things. This is a step-by-step guide from, you know, this is what I started with, this is what we do next. There's some tips and tricks in there on how to achieve those cuts. But it's a bit different in that you're not going to see me actually doing the work, you're going to see me explaining each step to achieve this. So enjoy it, and I hope you get something from it. Okay, the first thing to do in preparation is I'm just going to square off one end of the legs and the other end. I'm not going to cut them to final length yet, I just want to square off the two ends ready for turning. Okay, we'll set up for the score cut, which is on the two front legs, which are marked. Two back legs are plain, they don't have borders on. So I'm just going to go and just chop all four sides on the front. Let's just have a look. I want to do it that way with green. And that's the bottom too. Yeah. So we'll do those now. Right, now we're ready for turning. The score cut is simply that turning, because this oak's quite brittle, it's liable to split out. So that will give me the bottom that goes level with the carcass, and then I can turn the ball here and I don't have to worry about splitting and ruining the whole piece. Okay, now we've got the two ends turned, we'll dock them off to final length. Left them long because if I'd really screwed up the legs, the feet, then I could chop them off and carry on doing them again. Okay, I didn't bother filming it because you don't want to see me cutting wood, you don't want to see me putting wood through a thicknesser or a planer. So these are the two front legs, Roland styles for the raised panels. So this is how the front's going to look. So the next thing to do will be to do all the joinery to fit this together. So we'll get into that. Just in case any of you are wondering about the design process and the fancy SketchUp drawings, that's it. That's the whole design process there. I knew what I wanted. It was just roughing out the rough shapes, working out the thicknesses, heights, etc. and knowing what the size of the pieces were. So yeah, that's my, sorry, no fancy SketchUp. That's how I design 99% of my work. Just as an interest for you. Okay, so my rails split into three. Should be 260. So measure in. Always use the same tape measure. So measure in 260. Square them across. So 260, 260, 260. So That's where we want to do the two uprights. So they'll be going there and there, just like that. Okay. So now we need to think about what size tenon we're doing. I'm going to do a 10mm tenon because that's 20mm, so I want to leave 5mm either side. And I'm going to use floating tenons just because of the speed and quickness. So what I'm going to do is use a gauge, marking gauge. Now, that looks like a pen gauge. It's not. That's actually sharpened to a blade to cut. And what I'm going to do is roughly mark the centre. So just do a dab, come back the other way and do a dab. Okay, not quite centred. I'm not going to do this in the vise just to hold the work for me. Okay, so look at where pin there and the whole prick there. Okay, we're about 1/2 millimetre out. Adjust it. The pin hole there, and the pin hole there. And you come back about another 1/4 millimetre. Lock. Lock. Sometimes you get this first time, and other times, there we are. So that's my centre. So I can scribe that now. You know that's centre. And we'll just mark that centre line so it's easy to see. We'll just go around and mark the whole lot now. Now that we know where the centre is. Right, now we know where the centre is. I'm just going to mark the 5mm edge. The other edge. Right, that's the extremities of where the router cut's going to go. And the other thing we want to know is how thick this is. So we're going to do exactly the same thing, because this is going to be the one we're going to set up the jig for on. So we'll again punch, 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 okay, and we'll just mark that. Pencil in there for you. So that's the centre line. So, next thing to do with these will be to get them on the thing, get them on the jig. Now let's line this up. Pretty much got there just by eye. We want to just move this over until we get this lined up. It's lined up. Now we can lock this down. Well, that locked, every piece we put in will end up in the same place. Okay. So next thing to do is I need to put the clamp on there. So we'll just do that and we'll back to you. Okay. Now we're set up. So the piece is in, and every other piece that goes in there now will be exactly the same. So now we've got to set up the stops and set up the router. So we'll get that started. Now I'll just show you what I like to do before I set up the router. I'll put a sharp nose bit in, because then it's easier to line up with your centre hole, with your centre line. Another 1/4 millimetre. That's it. Okay. So now we've got that, and I'll put in the bit that I actually want to use. Right, now we've got that in, it's simply a matter of there's any trouble with this old one, you don't have a quick release. If you've been using it for something else, as I have. Right, so now we want to come and mark the outside edges. So we'll bring that up to line that up with our outside edge. And we'll move the stop in. And lock it down. Okay, so that limits our travel that way. Now we're going to go and do the same thing here. And lock that down. So that's our limit of our travel, which is to that line and to that line. So we're pretty much set up now. We're pretty much ready to route. But one thing I like to do, I will mark a face on every single piece of wood, including the rails that go along the bottom, so the face side is always out. That means even if I am slightly out there, it'll still come together perfectly. Right, so all we do now, we've got everything all marked out, set, just put that in there level with the top and lock it in. Now the only thing I haven't done is worked out the travel. So hang on, I need to go and do that. Didn't set the depth stop. There we are, one successful dry fit with loose tenons. So that's ready to go. And lovely, everything's all nice and level and even and just where it's meant to be. So we've done the mortises in these. We made some loose tenons. Just got them to the right thickness and then rounded over the edges. So they're nice and snug in there. They're very good. And they can be made out of the same or just offcuts or whatever. So the next thing to do now is to cut the rebates in here for the panels. And then once we've got the panels ready, then we can start gluing up. Okay, what I've done here is I put the groove in to all the panel pieces and the rails to take the sliding panel. I did that with a dado blade, set to 1/4 inch. So that's all ready now to take the panel. So the frame is now ready to go. Okay, so now I've got the panels all clamped up, so I'm going to take those out of the clamps and cut those down to size, ready for shaving.